The best friend I had been supporting throughout high school finally came clean. Her bank card balance was a staggering $65.1 billion, far surpassing the $10 billion inheritance my father left me. The most unbelievable part was when she removed her heavy makeup, revealing a breathtaking, fairy-like beauty, transforming from an ugly duckling into a golden phoenix. The title of school belle, which I had monopolized for 3 years, was instantly taken from me, amid the classmates' ghostly screams. My hair visibly turned white, strand by strand falling out, my skin rapidly sagged, dried up, and sprouted age spots. In just a few seconds, I had become a frail old woman on the brink of death. Zoe's eyes were filled with the satisfaction of revenge as she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Ivy, weren't you the rich girl, weren't you the campus belle? Now, I'm 6.51 times better than you in both. Thank you for studying so hard all through high school, ha ha ha." Looking at her triumphant expression, I actually wanted to tell her that I have terminal cancer. I'm not afraid of death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 10 days before the college entrance exam. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Zoe glaring at me angrily. "Ivy, what's going on with you? Instead of studying in the classroom at noon, you're here in the dorm sleeping." I jumped up and ran to the mirror, seeing my jet black smooth hair and glowing, elastic skin, and thought to myself, have I been reborn? Ivy, are you even listening to me? I tried hard to conceal the murderous intent in my heart, furrowing my brows and retorting, "Zoe, are you crazy? What does it matter to you whether I sleep or not?" Zoe widened her eyes, looking at me in disbelief, unable to understand why I, who had always been so good-natured, would suddenly snap at her. "I'm only doing this for your own good." She even played the victim, putting on a teary-eyed expression. If I hadn't seen her vicious, hateful face in my past life, I might have actually believed she meant well. In her previous life, Zoe's father needed surgery for cancer and had to borrow money everywhere, but as soon as her relatives and friends heard it was cancer, they all stayed far away. Her parents came to the school, wanting her to drop out and go to work. Zoe cried until her eyes were swollen like walnuts, kneeling in front of me and begging me to save her. Without a second thought, I gave her $5,000 for the medical expenses, saying, "Take this money, use it for your father's treatment first. If it's not enough, come find me again." Zoe burst into tears again, saying she would remember my great kindness for the rest of her life. Not long after that, she started caring about my studies, but the endless stream of love letters, gifts, and confessions became overwhelming. It was Zoe who stepped up, fiercely shielding me from all these troubles. She even took it upon herself to help me with meals, laundry, tidying up, and cleaning, all just to give me more time to study. How could I possibly treat my own classmate like this? I firmly refused her kindness, but Zoe became anxious. "Ivy, do you not consider me a friend, anyway? No matter how hard I study, I just can't seem to learn. I only want to do what little I can for you, to repay you for all the help you've given me." Seeing how worked up she was, I felt it was inappropriate to dissuade her further, so I had to let her do this and that. I thought she was doing all this out of gratitude, but I never imagined she actually harbored such hatred for me. What puzzles me is, since she hates me so much, why does she care so much about my studies? Also, if she's so wealthy, why couldn't her father afford cancer treatment? What I find most unbelievable is that she's quite plain looking, and even after using my makeup, she only became a bit fairer. Her looks were still very ordinary, so why did she transform into such a stunning beauty on the day the college entrance exam results were released? I will never forget her ethereal beauty and aura, so captivating that a single smile could topple a city, and a second could bring down a kingdom. Zoe waved her hand in front of my eyes. "Ivy, why are you still spacing out? Hurry up and go study in the classroom." I snapped back to reality and looked at her coldly. "When I study is my own business, you should worry about yourself instead." Zoe clearly didn't expect me to talk to her like that. Her face darkened, but in an instant, she put on an innocent expression. "Ivy, I only said that for your own good, so you can do well on your exams. For my own good, I don't need it. Please stop being a dog trying to catch mice. Mind your own business from now on, okay? Ivy, how can you be like this? My good intentions are being treated like donkey liver and lungs." "I don't need your good intentions, and I certainly don't need your donkey liver and lungs. You can keep them for yourself. Just mind your own business and don't get in my way." I suppressed the urge to stab her and spoke with restraint. Zoe slammed my foundation bottle hard onto the ground. "Who do you think you are? Why do you have to act so aggressive and high and mighty? So being obedient and letting you control me is what you call approachable? and not letting you control me is being aggressive. I'm supposed to be under your control. Are you out of your mind? I was genuinely infuriated by this absurd logic. Glancing at the shattered glass bottle, I held out my hand to Zoe. DA Foundation, 600 yuan, WeChat or cash, you. Zoe never expected me to demand compensation in front of our dorm mates, after all. She had broken my Guerlain repair cream before without any consequences. I cut her off without mercy. You what? Shouldn't you pay for what you break? You dare ask me to pay just 600 yuan, your father was. Zoe stopped herself in time, but I knew exactly what she was going to say next. Nothing more than a sarcastic remark about the billions in inheritance my father left me when he died. I pressed on relentlessly. Ha, and you have the nerve not to pay back 600 yuan, I. Zoe stammered for a long time without managing a complete sentence, then bolted out of the dormitory as if fleeing for her life, afraid I'd grab her if she hesitated even a second. I curled my lips in disdain. With such a stingy attitude, and he's supposed to be a 60-billionaire. As soon as I entered the classroom, Zoe shamelessly latched onto me again. Ivy, I'm sorry about earlier, I didn't mean to break your makeup. I shot her a sidelong glance and ignored her. Heading straight to my seat, Zoe didn't seem bothered at all and sat down next to me. When choosing seats, I couldn't resist Zoe's persistent pleading and agreed to be her desk mate. She said it would make it easier to take care of me, but now it seems more like it's easier for her to keep an eye on me. All around, the sound of pens scratching across exam papers filled the air. Every student was making their final sprint for the college entrance exams. Only Zoe pretended to open an English textbook, but inside, she had wrapped a novel and was reading it with great interest. As for me, I simply laid my head on the desk, pretending to be asleep. Zoe glanced over and saw that I had fallen asleep again. Immediately losing her composure, she poked my arm and said, Ivy, how can you be sleeping again? I ignored her and continued to pretend to be asleep. Zoe seemed as furious as if her ancestors' graves had been dug up, pushing me with increasing force until she even started pounding me with her fists, making loud thumping noises in the quiet classroom. Case closed. If I scored well on the college entrance exam, Zoe would definitely benefit immensely. Suddenly, it dawned on me, 651 was exactly the score I got in my previous life's college entrance exam. As luck would have it, Zoe had 65, 1 billion in savings, exactly 6.51 times my 10 billion in assets. As for her looks, they can't be measured in multiples. But they're probably related to me too. I pretended I couldn't take it anymore and walked straight up to our homeroom teacher, James, on the podium, saying loudly, Mr. James, I want to change seats. Zoe is distracting me from studying. No way. Before the teacher could even respond, Zoe shouted, I'm clearly the one pushing you to study. Is that so? I walked up to her, snatched her English book, and the novel fell out along with it. I teased, classmate Zoe is really diligent, huh? Reading, the domineering CEO falls for me, while still making sure to push me to study. Boom, ha 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 ha, the whole class burst into laughter. Enough, Zoe, take your books and move to the last row. Zoe wanted to argue further, but the homeroom teacher cut her off with a stern expression, ordering her to move in an unquestionable tone. Why should I have to leave just because Ivy wants to change seats? Zoe protested. Why, if it weren't for Ivy pleading on your behalf, would a seat in the top student section ever be available to you? Are you kidding? A slacker dares to disturb a top student's study. Isn't that like smashing Frank's rice bowl? Stomping her feet twice, Zoe still reluctantly packed her things and left. She deliberately made a clattering noise to vent her frustration. Frank glanced at her, probably considering that the students were about to graduate and worried she might do something to embarrass him further. He pursed his lips several times but ultimately didn't say anything to provoke her. Teacher James, I'd like to request a leave of absence. After class, I followed the homeroom teacher to his office. Teacher James frowned, looking very troubled. The college entrance exam is almost here. What could be so important that you need to ask for leave now? Teacher, I have something very important to take care of. If I don't get it done, I won't be able to focus on the college entrance exam. The homeroom teacher hesitated for a long time before finally sighing, then go and take care of it as quickly as possible. Once it's done, focus on your studies. Don't let anything distract you from the college entrance exam. Thank you, teacher. I rushed straight to the dormitory after leaving the classroom, took my phone from the locker, and dialed my bodyguard. Miss, what can I do for you? Blade. Send a car to pick me up from the school immediately. Feeling a bit uncomfortable in my stomach, I had to head to the restroom first. I went into the restroom and headed straight to stall number 3, which Zoe always favored. A sanitary pad in the trash caught my attention. It was a custom Italian handmade brand, a gift from my aunt. I'm the only one in the whole school who has this brand of sanitary pads, but I'm not on my period, so there's only one possibility. Zoe must have gotten her period, because she's the only one who would even mooch my pads. Suddenly, I noticed the light in front of the stall dim for a moment, but there was no sound. I pretended to flush the toilet and then walked out as if nothing had happened. Although the door of the next stall was closed, I still caught a glimpse of a white sneaker, the exact pair Zoe had begged me to buy for her. I quickly left the dormitory. Outside the school gate, Blade, dressed in a sharp suit, was already waiting for me by the car. Glancing at Zoe, who was being stopped and questioned by the security guard at the school entrance, I got into the car and drove off. With the Maybach speed, an ordinary taxi wouldn't even be able to catch a whiff of its exhaust, so I wasn't worried about Zoe catching up to me. Blade handed me a phone. "Miss, this is the phone you requested. Just swap out the SIM card." "Thanks, just doing my job. Let's go. Make sure no one follows us." Blade gave me a reassuring look in the rearview mirror. "Hold on tight, miss." He stomped on the accelerator, and the powerful thrust pushed me back against the seat instantly. After formatting the old phone, I casually tossed it into a roadside trash can. The car soon arrived at the airport, our destination this time, a city. Star Spear Technologies reception room. Blade and I met Professor Leo, who was known as the mad scientist. "Professor Leo, I want to purchase the most advanced research from your company." The burly but balding Professor Leo seemed to have heard the biggest joke of his life. "Little girl, are you joking with me? Do you know how much a single void harmonic matrix device costs? Do you know that at least 10 units are required to form a complete matrix? You can quote the price." "I'm all ears." "One instrument costs 2 million, 10 would be 20 million. I directly handed over my bank card. "Swipe it." "I want 50 units. My time is limited. I have no patience for bargaining." I quickly made the purchase and headed to the next stop. "Ivy, are you okay? Ivy, why didn't you go home? Ivy, where have you been? I'm really worried about you." As soon as I turned on my phone, downloaded and logged into WeChat, I was bombarded with messages from Zoe. Her words were filled with concern and worry for me. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought she was my mother. During my travels, I would study with a clear focus. For some reason, the exam questions from my previous life seemed to be deeply engraved in my mind, incredibly vivid and clear. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. That day, I unexpectedly received a call from my homeroom teacher. "Ivy, when are you coming back?" Teacher James asked urgently. "Teacher James, didn't I ask for 5 days off?" You. After hesitating for a while, the homeroom teacher finally spoke up. "Yes, I know, but could you come back to school earlier?" Teacher James' nervous tone left me somewhat puzzled. "Teacher, is there something going on?" "It's Zoe. On the day you took leave, Zoe also asked for leave, but I didn't approve it." Who knew Zoe would try to rush out of the school gate regardless, but the security guard stopped her. In the end, she climbed over the wall and left. So what? I contacted her parents right away. But Zoe's parents had no idea where she went. Some damn fool gave them the idea, and now they come to the school every day to make a scene, insisting that I sold her and demanding the school pay compensation. Listening to Mr. James's endless complaints, I was even more confused. "Mr. James, what does this have to do with me? There's a phone number claiming to belong to Zoe, sending me 3 messages every day asking if you've returned. She says she won't show up until you come back to school. Then you can just show the messages to her parents." I showed them, but they didn't believe me. They said I just found someone to send the message. Now they're starting to spread this online again. The school is under a lot of pressure now. "If you don't come back soon, I might get suspended." Teacher James's words were filled with bitterness. I was truly speechless. I never thought that taking a leave of absence would end up affecting Teacher James. That crazy woman Zoe has started resorting to extreme measures just to force me to show up. Teacher James has been nothing but good to me throughout my 3 years of high school, so naturally, I didn't want to drag him into any trouble. Besides, the matter was pretty much settled. "Teacher James, I'll be back at school by tomorrow at the latest." "Good, I'll be waiting for your return," Teacher James said gratefully. With the purpose of this trip accomplished, Blade and I set off on our journey back. At the school gate, Teacher James was pacing anxiously, almost spinning like a top. Seeing my car approach, he came straight up to me. "Student Ivy, you're finally back." Looking at Teacher James' excited yet troubled face, I felt a pang of guilt for a second. Teacher, has Zoe returned to school? Not yet, she said. Teacher James stopped mid-sentence, following his surprised gaze. I saw Zoe arriving at the school gate accompanied by her parents. If I had to guess, they had been secretly observing the situation at the school entrance. They would settle the matter quietly if they saw me return, but if they didn't see me, they would continue causing trouble. Teacher James was truly exasperated by these troublemakers. His shocked expression gradually turned into anger. Just as he was about to scold Zoe, she spoke first. Teacher, don't yell at me. I'm the kind of person who might do something drastic if I get too upset. Don't push me. Teacher James forcibly swallowed his reprimand. The school administrators nearby were also furious. They had originally planned to expel Zoe, but now they had no choice but to back down. After all, Zoe would graduate in just a few days. Once she caused any more trouble after that, it would no longer be the school's concern. There was no need to provoke her now. Zoe gave me a haughty glance. But when she spotted Blade standing behind me, her eyes sharpened, unleashing boundless killing intent. Blade keenly sensed Zoe's murderous aura, and his own fierce, battle-hardened presence was inadvertently stirred. A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips as he looked at her with mockery. Not a single word was spoken, yet the overwhelming killing intent pressed down on Zoe, making it hard for her to breathe. Zoe turned away in disarray, stumbling as she fled. I'm sorry, miss, I couldn't hold back just now. Thinking about what she's about to do to you, I had a strong urge to kill her. Although Blade was by my side throughout the entire journey, I naturally wouldn't hide the secrets about Zoe and my past life from him. Miss, I'm still not comfortable with you staying alone at school. That woman is far too dangerous, Blade said with a furrowed brow. I gave him a reassuring look. Don't worry, she won't make a move on me until the college entrance exam results are out. As soon as I entered the classroom, Zoe flashed me a shameless grin. Looking completely different from her earlier tsundere demeanor. Ivy, where have you been these past few days? Oh, I went to visit a friend, I replied dismissively. She then pulled out a piece of paper with an essay prompt written on it. Ivy, could you write this essay for me? It's just too difficult to write. Taking the note, my eyes froze for a moment when I saw what was written on it. The essay topic on it was clearly this year's exam question. It was obvious that Zoe had also been reborn. She was afraid I wouldn't do well on the exam, so she gave me a heads up in advance. How ironic that someone who hates me actually wants me to do well in the college entrance exam. In the following days, Zoe kept bringing college entrance exam questions to ask me, and I answered them one by one. She listened with a wandering mind, and I explained with a distracted heart. I knew she just wanted me to practice the exam questions in advance, though it was exhausting. I had no choice but to play along with her act. Amid this painful role-playing, the college entrance exam arrived as scheduled. With the memories from my past life and targeted practice in this one, my pen moved as if guided by a divine hand. Every exam felt effortless, and I finished each one in a single, fluid motion. Zoe, who had handed in her paper half an hour early, saw that I had also finished ahead of time. Her face lit up with growing delight. Ivy, how did you do? I think it went pretty well. A lot of the questions were ones you had asked me about, so I finished quickly. I just waited until I could hand in the paper and came out right away. Thank you, Zoe. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to perform this well. Hearing my words, Zoe's lips curved into a satisfied smile. You're welcome, you're my best friend, and I'm genuinely happy for you that you did well. Looking at Zoe's hypocritical face, I felt a bit nauseous. But I still held back the disgust and said, you're really my lucky star. 2 days passed quickly, and the college entrance exams were finally over. Ivy, what are your plans after the exams? Zoe shamelessly tried to pry information from me. I want to go hiking and relax a bit. No, climbing mountains is too dangerous. What if you slip and fall, and get hurt? Looking at Zoe's worried face, I could feel her sincerity. Then I'll go travel in Myanmar, I said. Starting to poke at her sensitive nerves. Absolutely not. You must be out of your mind to even think of traveling there. This won't do, that won't do. Then I might as well just stay home every day and play on my phone. Zoe's eyes lit up. That's great, I'll come keep you company then. I shot her a disdainful glance. Forget it, I want to be alone for a while. Zoe has been incredibly tolerant lately, no matter how much I provoke her or put her in an awkward position. She manages to restrain herself from getting angry with me. The next day, Blade came in and said to me, Miss, that girl named Zoe has been loitering around the villa. Should I have security drive her away? I smiled and said, no need. If she likes standing guard, let her. Day by day, time passed. And finally, it was June 25th, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Zoe came to ring my doorbell. Ivy, let's go check our scores together. Frank is waiting for us at school. Just like in my previous life, the homeroom teacher gathered our class together to check our scores, planning to go out for a meal with us after we finished. Sure, but it's still too early to go now. I need to take a nap first, so please wait outside for a while. I slept until 5 o'clock before slowly waking up. Miss, everything is ready, we can set off now. As my car passed through the gate, I saw Zoe, whose face was so dark it looked like ink could drip from it. While I was sleeping, she tried multiple times to ring the doorbell to wake me up, but Blade stopped her every time. She wanted to shout loudly, but Blade immediately called security and had her escorted out. As soon as I entered the classroom, I saw my homeroom teacher with a nervous yet expectant expression. Student Ivy, come sit over here quickly. The time finally reached 6 p.m. Ivy, you check first. Teacher James took 2 deep breaths, preparing to face my results. I skillfully entered my candidate information and pressed the enter key. The page refreshed, and as expected, my information was blocked. Teacher James slapped his thigh and exclaimed excitedly, incredible, Ivy, you made it into the top 10 in the province. Wow. The entire class's exclamations nearly blew the roof off the classroom. And it took several minutes of heated discussion before they finally settled down. Ha ha ha. Zoe's eerie laughter, however, continued unabated. Teacher James curled his lips in disdain, too lazy to deal with the madwoman, and motioned for the next student to check their score. I started taking out my phone to check the silver short. In my previous life, I scored 651 points, and the deposit in my bank card instantly became 65. 1 billion, that is to say, for every 100 points I scored, my assets would double. I scored 651 points, so my assets increased by 6.51 times. Ding, a bank text message came through. I clicked to check, and wow, this time my savings had become 73.854 billion, and that was after I had spent 100 million. Ah, everyone, look at Ivy. Just as I was checking my phone messages, I don't know which classmate let out a cry of surprise. Instantly, everyone's gaze was focused on me. You're Ivy. The homeroom teacher looked at me in disbelief. Just like in my previous life, my appearance transformed after the college entrance exam scores were released. Not just my looks, but my skin also became flawless and delicate, so fair and unblemished that it was countless times better than the filtered skin in skincare commercials. Even the cancer that had been tormenting me vanished without a trace at this moment. Feeling the vibrant vitality of this body, I felt no excitement at all. Because I knew that Zoe would soon take it all away completely. Zoe stared in awe at my face, then greedily examined my perfectly curved figure like an old lecher. Tsk, Ivy, you must be so surprised, Zoe said with a smug expression. You now have a massive fortune and a heavenly beauty, but unfortunately, they will all be mine, and you only deserve to turn into a pile of dry bones. I looked at her with great interest. So, Zoe, when did you bind with the system? Zoe's jaw dropped in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at me. How do you know? I didn't answer her question. Instead, I asked curiously, logically speaking, there should be plenty of people richer and more beautiful than me, right? Why did you specifically choose me? Zoe laughed and said to me in a condescending tone, fine, I'll let you die with clarity. She leaned close to my ear. Actually, only those who share a blood relation with me can be bound by me, and you, my sister, are the perfect candidate. I was truly shocked by this news. If Zoe is my sister, does that mean Dad betrayed Mom from the very beginning? Wait, then who is the man with cancer? Oh, you mean my uncle. He does have cancer, but it's a gambling addiction, and thank you for helping him pay off his online loans. What do you think? Pretty infuriating, isn't it? As she spoke, she looked behind me. Dad, you're here. I turned around and saw my father, who had passed away 3 months ago at a young age, standing there alive and well. I exclaimed excitedly, Dad, you're not dead. That's amazing. Dad gave me a disgusted look, then walked straight over to Zoe, his face beaming with joy. My dear daughter, after today, you'll be the most beautiful little rich girl in the world. I stood there frozen, my emotions shifting from pleasant surprise to heartache, then to extreme anger. So you knew about Zoe's plan from the start. And you knew what would happen to me. A triumphant smile spread across Jack's face. Why do you think I pretended to be dead, and why do you think I transferred my share of the property to you? so you were scheming against Mom from the very beginning. So what if I schemed against her? That's because she's stupid. Me, a full-grown man, being asked to be a live-in son-in-law for your Smith family, if she hadn't kept such a tight grip on the money. How could my wife and child have suffered for so many years? I bit my lip until it bled, struggling to hold back the flood of tears that threatened to break through. Was all the love and care you gave me since I was a child just a lie? Of course it's fake. My surname is Johnson, yours is Smith. Tell me, how am I supposed to treat you as family? Your very existence constantly reminds me that I'm a useless piece of trash. Jack's fury was palpable as he pressed on aggressively. Right. I'm just a pawn in his plan to take advantage of a family with no male heir. Although I already had my suspicions, I couldn't help but ask, so, my mother's car accident wasn't an accident? A flicker of panic crossed Jack's face. Her death has nothing to do with me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. How could he possibly confess his crimes in front of others? What a scumbag. Ha ha ha. Ivy, you think you're so high and mighty, but you don't even realize you're the pathetic one nobody loves. TSK TSK TSK. What a beautiful face. Too bad you only get to keep it for a few seconds. Zoe feigned pity, her words dripping with sarcasm. I took out the mirror I had prepared in advance. In the mirror, my appearance and aura even surpassed that of Zoe I had seen in my previous life. Her system is really impressive. Zoe, fearing that something might go wrong, was eager to obtain my beauty and wealth. She shouted, "Now, system, exchange them for me." Yet the next second, her smile froze, transforming into overwhelming fury as she spat out each word slowly. "Ivy, what the hell have you done?" I was just as confused, having no idea what this crazy woman was talking about, so I shrugged innocently and said, "I didn't do anything." "You're lying. Why did the system warn me that swapping bodies with you would also drain all of my lifespan?" I just had a black person ? Face. What kind of weird move is this, you vicious and cunning woman?" Zoe yelled at me. Suddenly, as if remembering something, she reached out to me and asked, "Where is the jade pendant I gave you?" Me, the jade pendant. I threw it away. "Zoe, how dare you?" I sneered and interrupted. "The facts are as you see them. Time goes back 3 months. Ivy, thank you for taking care of me for so long. This is a family heirloom jade from my home. You must take it." Zoe looked at me with hopeful eyes. "No, this is your family heirloom. How could I take something so precious from you?" I firmly refused. It was just a small favor I did for her. How could I accept such a reward? Besides, the style of the jade pendant isn't really to my taste. "Ivy, do you secretly look down on someone like me, a child from a poor family?" "I don't." "Then why won't you accept this jade?" "My mom said it can bring safety and protection. I want you to be safe and sound." I was moved by Zoe's sincerity, and put on the jade pendant. Later, when Zoe looked up, she accidentally bumped into my nose. She hurriedly tried to wipe it for me, but in her flustered state, she got my blood on the jade pendant. The first thing I did after being reborn was to take off the jade pendant. Anything given by Zoe couldn't be good. I consider myself a semi-hardcore reader. I must have read at least 80, if not 100, short stories about the college entrance exam in tomato novels. After what happened in my previous life, how could I possibly continue wearing something that was clearly abnormal? On the day I was reborn, I saw Zoe secretly using my sanitary pad in the wastebasket. I suddenly had a whim and placed the jade pendant on it, unexpectedly. The jade pendant was even more absorbent than a sanitary pad, sucking out all the non-spicy parts inside. Looking at Zoe's furious face, I only felt a sense of satisfaction. That jade pendant should be in some landfill by now. "You actually dared to throw my family heirloom into the trash." "Heirloom?" I sneered. "More like some devil's contract of yours." "Ah!" Zoe's eyes blazed with fury, as if she were on the verge of madness, gazing at my peerless beauty. A twisted madness flashed in her eyes. "I can't just stand by and watch you get all of this. If I can't have it, neither will you." System, Before she could finish her threat of mutual destruction, Zoe let out a blood-curdling scream. She was in so much pain that she rolled around on the ground, eventually foaming at the mouth and trembling all over. Finally, a blue light slowly broke free from Zoe's head. "Waste, what kind of person have you offended?" The blue light made no sound, but everyone in the classroom understood its thoughts. After breaking free from Zoe, the light quickly tried to fly away. Moving at an extreme speed, however, just as it was about to fly away, it seemed to hit an invisible wall, instantly wilting and slowing down by more than half. It was a cage formed by 50 void harmonic matrix devices, Blade rushed into the classroom with over a dozen bodyguards, followed closely by a group of Taoist priests in robes and eminent monks dressed in kasayas, like the 8 immortals crossing the sea, each showing their divine powers. This is the assistance I called in during my leave. It's unclear which side played the role, but in the end, the blue light point completely gave up on escaping. Blade quickly took out a high-tech silver metal case and stored the blue light point inside. System, no, Zoe, having just woken up, frantically chased after him, trying to snatch the metal case, but was firmly blocked by my bodyguards. Faced with the prospect of losing everything, Zoe refused to give in, clawing and biting in a complete frenzy. Blade had no choice but to deliver a swift chop to her neck. Being young, Zoe immediately collapsed into unconsciousness. Zoe, Jack rushed forward in a panic, catching her in his arms. Just when I thought he was about to put on a show of father-daughter affection, he skillfully used Zoe's finger to unlock her phone's fingerprint lock and began scrolling through it, pressing so hard it seemed he might shatter the glass screen. What? Only $2,000, he abruptly let go of Zoe. And her head hit the ground with a heavy, dull thud. Smack. Jack slapped Zoe hard across the face. Wake the hell up. Smack. Wake up. Smack. My money. Smack. I'm gonna. With every word he spoke, he slapped Zoe across the face. By the time Zoe's face was swollen like a pig's head, she finally came to groggily. Jack shook her shoulders violently. Didn't you say there'd be at least 7 times the return? Where the hell are my 70 billion? 700 billion wasn't successfully exchanged at all. It's still in Ivy's bank card. Feeling Zoe's gaze, I brushed my hair aside, every movement exuding an ethereal grace, truly embodying the saying, every smile and frown, every gesture, is exquisitely beautiful. Zoe gritted her teeth with a grinding sound. When she looked at me, there was no trace of smugness left in her eyes, replaced instead by hatred and a jealousy that ran deep into her bones. Jack glared at me fiercely. You knew all along, didn't you? The corners of my lips curved slightly. Yes. Jack's eyes suddenly softened, becoming gentle and harmless. Ivy, you're still young, let your father take care of the money for now. Once you finish your studies. I cut him off without mercy. No need to worry, I'm already 18, and I can manage my own assets. Jack's face visibly darkened. All your money was given by me, and I can take it back whenever I want. You have no say in this. Fine, go ahead and try. Are you planning to sue me? My father died 3 months ago. And the police have it on record. Do you intend to sue me under the name of a dead man? I should have taken care of you, you wretched bastard. Along with him, my smile grew colder, and my heart hardened. So now you finally admit to killing my mother. I may not have the evidence to convict you, but believe me, I will use the money in my hands to make your life a living hell. Jack's face turned red with strain, but in the end, he couldn't hold back. Pfft. He suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood. In that split second, he lowered his head, drew a dagger from his waist, and with a fierce glare in his eyes, lunged at me as swiftly as a tiger pouncing on its prey. However, before he could get close to me, he was sent flying backward. A figure, as straight and rigid as a spear, stood firmly in front of me. Blade, how dare you, a dog, bite its master? I order you to back off. Blade cast a disgusted glance at Jack. Even if I am a dog, I am the dog of the lady and the young miss, 10,000 times nobler than an ungrateful wretch like you. While everyone's attention was focused on Jack, Zoe quietly picked up the dagger that had fallen at her feet. Jack wanted to continue his rant, but he was firmly restrained by several bodyguards. Even if Jack's attempted assault with a knife was unsuccessful, he would still be detained for 5 to 15 days. Die, Zoe shouted, lunging at me with a knife. Zoe was behind me, and Blade was in front of me. There was no time for anyone to save me. At the critical moment, I shifted my body just enough to narrowly avoid the stabbing blade. I was astonished to find that Zoe's movements appeared extremely slow in my eyes. After calmly dodging, I kicked her in the chest with my right foot at a tricky angle, sending her flying backward just like her father. Her spine collided squarely with the corner of the table, producing a sharp, crack, sound, and then she lay motionless on the ground. I was also surprised by my instinctive kick. It felt as if it had been calculated with precise accuracy, the angle and force perfectly measured to leave Zoe with high-level paralysis without being fatal. I don't want her to die. What if she reincarnates and comes back to harm me again? I clenched my fist, feeling this surging yet perfectly controlled power, and realized my body had never felt better. After I spared no expense in the investigation, Jack's crime of hiring a hitman came to light. Unsurprisingly, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. He will spend the rest of his life atoning for his sins. He requested to see me in prison, but I refused. There was no father-daughter affection left, and I didn't want to hear his confession. Meeting would only tear open old wounds again. But out of kindness, I transferred a large sum of money to each of his cellmates' families with only one request: keep an eye on him to prevent him from committing suicide, but make sure he doesn't live comfortably. After a checkup, my cancer was cured, and my physical condition had improved many times over. What brings me both pain and joy is that my stunningly beautiful face draws attention wherever I go, making it particularly inconvenient to travel. Not only that, but my appetite is astonishingly large, yet I can eat voraciously without gaining weight, because this body consumes energy at an incredible rate. Milk tea, cakes, fried chicken, barbecues, I can eat whatever I want without worrying about gaining weight, and the feeling is absolutely fantastic. I got into Yale as I had hoped, but I initially worried that my grades might have been inflated and that I wouldn't be able to keep up with the coursework. Who would have thought that I would be like a prodigy in a martial arts novel who has opened up their meridians, effortlessly understanding and memorizing any subject I study? Zoe's mother, Mary, was recently in a car accident and also became a high-risk paraplegic. As a caring citizen, I contributed my compassion by paying to have her admitted to a rather basic nursing home. Living is possible, but the quality is not high. Just like her mother, Zoe will also spend the rest of her life in bed. But in this life, the two of them will never meet again, because I arranged for 2 separate nursing homes, just in case those 2 vipers might spark something off again. It's almost laughable. The one who schemed everything ended up losing everything. I had a dream. Mom said she was leaving, going to a place far, far away. She was happy to see that I was doing well. I said, Mom, in the next life, could you be my daughter? She smiled bitterly. Maybe so, after hearing the first story above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My younger brother was a compulsive gambler who jumped to his death after accumulating millions in debt. After his death, creditors came to our door, frightening my parents so badly they ended up in the hospital, and forcing me to take on my brother's debts. They broke my hand as a threat. If you dare die, I'll kill your entire family. For the sake of my parents, I worked hard to repay the debts. 10 years later, I finally paid off my gambling debts and even bought a car and a house for my parents to retire in comfort. But then I was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer and became bedridden. At this moment, my brother, who had come back from the dead, returned, thanks to Mom and Dad faking my death back then so I could escape. I'm now able to come back and inherit the estate. Later, they simply gave up on treatment and abandoned me at the hospital. Even after my death, no one came to claim my body. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my younger brother jumped to his death. My son, how can I go on living now that you're gone? My mother's eyes were red, her hand trembling slightly as she stroked the coffin beside her. This is Andy's funeral hall. The piercing cries pierced through my eardrums. I snapped back to reality. No stomach pain from overexertion. No suffocating despair before death. I actually reincarnated. In my previous life, it was at Andy's funeral that someone broke my hand, leaving me permanently disabled. My mother covered her chest with a pained expression, acting as if she were truly heartbroken. It wasn't until she saw me that she composed herself and walked over to my side. Did you get the money? I gripped the backpack strap tightly and took a few steps back. I tried to look as relaxed as possible. The amount is too large. And there are too many procedures. It can't be withdrawn all at once. My mother's disappointment was palpable as she glared at me angrily. Are you stupid? If you can't get the money, just make a scene, lie down at the bank's entrance with a knife. They'll have no choice but to give it to you. Seeing that I remained silent, my mother started wiping her tears again. If only you had been willing to help Andy back then, he wouldn't have jumped off the building. You have money but refuse to lend it. You killed your brother. It's all your fault. Her voice was deliberately raised, and everyone's eyes turned toward me. My mother's words were sharp, each one a blade of moral condemnation hanging over my head. Watching them stage this elaborate fake death drama for my brother, I felt nothing but coldness inside. My mother blamed Andy's death entirely on me, and the looks from relatives and friends turned contemptuous. She composed herself and said, if we don't have money to pay the interest, what will we do when those people come knocking? In the backpack was $500,000 in cash, the loan I had taken out from the bank. In my previous life, under her constant PUA, I willingly took on Andy's massive debt. When the debt collectors came knocking, my parents suddenly had heart palpitations and were hospitalized, leaving me alone to face everything. My 500,000 yuan in cash vanished without a trace, and I turned to them for help. My mother said, "We're getting old and need this money for our retirement. You're still young and can earn more. Can't you figure something out?" And my father kept questioning, "Your brother is dead. Do you want to drive us to our graves too, money or us? You choose." I couldn't make a choice. The debt collectors threatened that if I dared to seek death like Andy, they would kill my entire family. From the very beginning, my parents only saw me as a tool to squeeze money out of. I closed my eyes and gently placed my hands on my mother's shoulders. "Don't be afraid. If they come looking for trouble, I'm here." My mother smiled with relief. I leaned in close and whispered in her ear, "I've booked the tickets. We're leaving today." My mother froze for a moment, staring at me in disbelief. "What about your brother? He hasn't even been buried yet. Are you just going to abandon him? Are you even human?" I put on an innocent expression. "Well, it's not like they can do anything to a dead person anyway. At most, they'll just check if he's really dead. Worst case, they'll dig him up and whip the corpse to vent their anger." I paused briefly. "Isn't that better than beating a living person into a cripple?" My mother froze for a second, gritted her teeth, and pushed me away. "You have such a cruel heart." She lay over the coffin, weeping bitterly. "Even if I die today, I want to die with Andy. No one try to stop me." "Fine, I'll let you two have your deep mother-son bond." All the relatives scolded me for being heartless while pitying them. They surrounded me and tried to persuade me, "Ethan, it's not that Auntie is criticizing you, but you never cared about your brother before. And now you're ignoring your parents. What you're doing is worse than a dog." "Exactly, even a dog knows how to protect its owner. How can you be so ungrateful and abandon your own parents? Today, with us here, you're not going anywhere." I tightened my grip on my backpack and gave them a cold, sweeping glance. "So this is why Mom and Dad made such a big show of calling all these relatives, to keep me from running away. Me, uncles, aunts, all of you are really so good to our family." They beamed with pride, straightening their backs. "Of course, family should always help each other." I chuckled and stretched out my hand to them. "Then lend me 500,000 to use." "Aunt, don't you even have 500,000? 200,000 will do. Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you back. Whoever lends me the money, I won't have to leave." The funeral hall fell silent instantly, and the figures blocking my way slowly moved aside. My mother stared at those relatives in astonishment, her mouth slightly agape but unable to utter a word. I entered the room and hid all the money, then packed my clothes into the suitcase. My father burst into the room, standing at the doorway with his usual authoritative posture. "Paying back debts is only right and proper. Our James family does not produce cowards." Humph, who was the one in our previous life who took the lead in pretending to be sick and hiding in the hospital. He ran off with my money, took my mom, and traveled around the world with Andy, only coming back when I was on the verge of death from illness. As the eldest son, you should share our hardships. How could you run away? Share our hardships. After they faked illness and checked into the hospital, they took my money and disappeared. I was being chased by debt collectors. All my documents were confiscated, and I was forced to repay the debt day after day, year after year. I became disabled and had to earn money on construction sites. The bricks were scorching hot, and the calluses on my palms grew thicker and thicker. I gnawed on 2 yuan steamed buns, drank tap water from the faucet, and lived under an overpass. I lived like this for 3 years, but paying off the debt seemed hopelessly far away. I begged my parents to help me, and at one point, I even thought about ending my life. My parents said, "If you die, they'll come after us. Do you want your parents to end up living like you in their old age?" After that, they cut off contact with me, because they were afraid of being found by debt collectors and ending up like me. Unexpectedly, within 5 years, I went from being a contractor to a real estate executive, and all my investments went smoothly. I paid off my debts, bought a house, and started planning the wedding. But during the premarital checkup, I was diagnosed with advanced stage stomach cancer. Before I even had a chance to enjoy life, I was handed a death sentence. At this moment, Andy came back to life. Before dying, he mocked me for being foolish, for bearing all the suffering on his behalf, and even for securing the kingdom for him. They signed the "Do Not Resuscitate" order and abandoned me in the hospital to await death. Truly, foolish. What is that ridiculous family bond worth? I suddenly changed my mind and put down the suitcase. "Dad, I think you're right. How could I leave at a time like this?" My father's expression relaxed, as if everything had been within his expectations. "It's good that you've come around. Come out and offer some incense to your brother. I haven't done anything wrong, so why should I run away? I should return all the bitter consequences they deserve right back to them. I changed into mourning clothes and bowed 3 times before Andy's memorial tablet. Gaze fell upon that ice coffin, through the glass. Andy's face was covered with a thick layer of white powder, and with deliberately held breath. He indeed looked no different from a dead person. No one would carefully check whether he was really dead. I leaned over the coffin, wailing dryly, "Poor brother, I told you long ago that gambling would lead you to a bad end. Don't worry, I will take good care of our parents, and you can rest assured leaving your wife to me as well. Brother, don't worry, just go in peace. Better to benefit me than let others take advantage. Actually, I've liked her for a long time. Thank you for stepping aside." There was a collective gasp around us. Linda stared at me in disbelief. "Ethan, I'm serious. Anyway, you two aren't married yet. I can accept it, and I'll definitely take good care of you on behalf of my brother." I hung my head so they couldn't see my face, my shoulders shaking violently as I desperately covered my mouth to keep myself from laughing out loud. Yet Andy could clearly see the smile on my face. Quite the endurance. "He just died. Is it appropriate for you to say these things?" Linda looked at me, the corners of her lips curling slightly. I approached her and whispered, "Is that so? What if Andy is using your money to support a mistress, mortgaging the house you bought to pay off debts, or even faking his death to escape debt? I can help you get it back. Do you trust me?" A flicker of hatred flashed in her eyes as she stared at the person in the coffin, then looked up at her grief-stricken parents. Suddenly, with unusual determination, she said, "I do. I'll help you." I was a bit surprised, but quickly accepted it. Having an ally made things unexpectedly smooth. Linda cooperatively took my hand. "He's finally dead. We can be together openly now." Me, getting into character so quickly. My mom pulled us apart, instinctively glancing at the person in the coffin. "You two, behaving like this in front of the deceased. What kind of behavior is that?" I straightened up, grinning. "Once Andy is cremated, I'll go propose marriage." I patted the coffin and said, "Don't worry, I'll live in your wedding house. Take good care of your fiancé, and slowly pay off your debts." I emphasized the word debts heavily. Andy's corpse twitched faintly a couple of times, and the veins on his forehead throbbed along with it. I was about to say something more, but my mother sharply cut me off. "Enough, you beast. I would rather die here than agree to you two being together." My mother grabbed Linda's arm and forcefully pushed her out. "Get out of my house. My son doesn't want a shameless woman like you." I shielded her with my body and, taking advantage of the chaos, stuffed the backpack into her arms. "You go first. I'll find you after I've handled everything." Linda understood my signal and left without looking back, holding the money. My heart finally relaxed. I took out the bank card and placed it in my mother's palm. "This is all my savings. Don't be angry anymore. I've already agreed to take on Andy's debt. Won't you please let us be together?" My mother's cold expression finally softened a little. She had achieved her goal. She was probably thinking that even if we stayed together, we'd be buried in endless debt. My mother carefully placed that bank card into her pocket. She curled the corner of her lips. All right, we'll talk about your matters later." I walked around the coffin and kicked out the plug of the ice coffin. "The current temperature is around 37 to 38 degrees Celsius. Let's see how long you can last in this coffin." Not satisfied yet, I opened the window and moved the brazier right next to his coffin. The brazier burned brighter and hotter, and a thin layer of mist formed on the transparent glass lid of the coffin. My sharp-eyed eldest aunt suddenly let out a scream. "Mom, Dad, look quickly. Andy's face is changing color. This is corpse transformation." Andy's face was covered in a thin layer of fine sweat, and as the sweat increased, the makeup became more and more smeared. In the end, it was a mess of black, white, and yellow patches. The relatives crowded around, and after a close look, they gasped in shock. "This is unlucky. Definitely unlucky. Oh my God, it must be because Ethan just talked nonsense and angered him." I put on an innocent face, pretending to be scared as I swallowed hard. "What should we do then? Hurry and call someone to take it away." I took out my phone, but before the call could connect, my father pressed down on it firmly. "What are you going to do?" "Of course we have to call the crematorium to take it away and burn it immediately. This is such an unlucky matter." My dad patted my shoulder and said, "You're still young, you don't understand these things. I've already made the arrangements. They'll be here soon." The people from the crematorium arrived quickly. They nodded to my parents and went through the procedures. My heart sank. So in my previous life, This was the method they used to switch Andy. What followed was my parents' grand performance of feigning illness. The debt collectors only showed up after they had all left. I threw myself forward and grabbed the coffin. Mom, Dad, I can't bear to part with him. I can't bear to part with Andy. I should go and take a look. My mother impatiently pulled me away. There's no need, let the professionals handle this. Professionals? I didn't believe it. I stood in front of the coffin. I'm not convinced. Show me your credentials. The men exchanged glances, then pushed me aside. What nonsense. Is this something to joke about? Several burly men surrounded me, looking domineering. Respect the dead, don't you understand? My father also chimed in, pulling me away. Move aside quickly, don't block the way. I stood in front of the coffin and said seriously, Dad, don't you watch the news? There are people who specialize in stealing corpses for all kinds of experiments. Do you really want Andy to have no peace even after death? They can't even produce identification. How suspicious. At my instigation, several relatives also started chiming in. This is when the relatives who love to stir up trouble without caring about the consequences come in handy. That's right, sister-in-law, you can't just let anyone take Andy away. Proof, show me your documents, human traffickers. Now you won't even spare the dead. Is that it? The group was at a loss for words, standing at the door and looking pleadingly at my parents. My mother stammered, I trust them, and besides, what kind of credentials do you need for this kind of work? My dad nodded, taking on the role of the backbone. This corpse transformation is no joke. Hurry up and take it away. As he spoke, he winked at the group, urging them to act quickly. I shouted, nobody move, I've already called the police. Naturally, I didn't give them a chance to speak and continued to urge my relatives. You think my parents are easy to bully because they're old, but I'm not, and my uncles and aunts aren't easy to bully either. To save face after refusing to lend money earlier, a few of my burly relatives grabbed brooms and started fighting and cursing as they wrestled with the group over the coffin. Back and forth they went, until the coffin lid flipped over. Andy tumbled out of the coffin entirely, his body rolling down the stairs step by step due to momentum. His head hit the wall hard, leaving faint, bloody marks. My mother was startled and rushed down after him. My son, my son. The surroundings erupted in gasps, and everyone immediately held their breath. This has gone completely wrong. Suppressing a laugh, I quickly urged the relatives to chase these frauds away. Though my father remained composed, his expression grew increasingly grim, and he couldn't bring himself to say anything more. Andy was covered in wounds and his arm was dislocated, yet he continued to play dead. Let's see how long you can keep this up. Everyone worked together to put him back in the coffin. My mom, sharp-eyed as ever, noticed the plug had come loose and was about to reinsert it when I stopped her. I stepped forward, linked arms with my mom, and my gaze fell on the hour hand of my watch. Mom, you've really worked hard. Here, have some water, don't bother. She bent down to grab the plug, and I stomped on it hard with my foot, completely breaking it. She shot me a fierce glare, and I said innocently, oops, it's broken, it's fine. Anyway, Andy won't be hot now, after all that commotion. The debt collectors never showed up. My suspicions were confirmed. Those people were deliberately sent to my door after they had already made their escape. In my previous life, they had arranged everything perfectly, coincidentally escaping, coincidentally falling ill, coincidentally taking all my money, and coincidentally vanishing without a trace. In that case, I will stake myself in this game. Mom and Dad drove all those relatives away. They claimed it was to let Andy have some peace and depart quietly. Actually, I wanted to find an opportunity to move him. My mom wasn't stupid. She could tell at a glance Andy was about to suffocate in the coffin. She deliberately pointed at it and said, oh no, what's wrong, my son? Are they bothering you? Mom will make them leave right away. Don't be scared, don't be scared. At these words, my timid relatives scrambled toward the door, none of them wanting to be haunted by a ghost. I stood blocking the doorway and said calmly, Andy's corpse transformation means he's carrying a heavy grudge. What if you leave and he follows you home? My superstitious aunt slapped her forehead and nodded emphatically, quickly putting her shoes back on and stepping back into the house. Auntie, why don't you call a master to perform a ritual ceremony to dispel the resentment? Remember, it has to be an especially grand ceremony, preferably with many people, so when Andy rises from the dead, on the spot, he'll have nowhere to run. Auntie patted her chest and assured, no problem, leave it to me. My mother gave my father a helpless look, signaling him with her eyes. Let's do it then, the sooner the better. He reassured my mother with confidence, looking completely calm. Aunt acted quickly and invited a group of masters to perform the ritual. While they were setting up the ceremony, my mother opened the coffin lid to let Andy relax for a little while, and I was stirring the fire basin nearby. The scattered sparks fell on Andy's skin, and my mother, heartbroken, gently blew on it for him. The relatives couldn't help but feel sad when they saw this scene. What a mother's love for her son. After the farewell ceremony, my father covered the coffin with a black cloth. This is a tradition from our hometown. Once the rituals are done, it's time to send them off. Everyone nodded in agreement. Once the black cloth was in place, no one knew what was happening inside the coffin. A group of masters performed rituals in the living room, while we had to kneel with our heads bowed, not allowed to peek. Women must go inside the room to avoid any potential offense. So, is this why my dad is so confident? This is the last way to transfer Andy. I sent a message to that anonymous number. The time has come. The ceremony ended, and Mom and Dad's faces visibly relaxed a lot. They returned to the room and began packing Andy's things. I leaned against the doorframe. Are you in such a hurry to pack? The first week of mourning isn't even over yet. The belongings of the deceased must be burned. You don't understand. Mom and Dad packed swiftly, item by item, and the bank card that belonged to me was also stuffed into that suitcase. Want to run? No way. As soon as the words were spoken, the doorbell rang again. My mom rushed to open the door, her face turning pale. What are you doing here? Dozens of debt collectors arrived, instantly filling the living room, their oppressive presence hitting me head-on. The uneasiness in my heart was quickly suppressed. I knew that this moment was when their retribution would come. My mother panicked for a moment, then calmly said, Andy is already dead. We just finished holding a memorial service for him, but don't worry, we will definitely pay back the money. The boss snorted coldly, banging his stick heavily on the table. It doesn't matter if someone dies, as long as the money gets paid back. My mother raised her hand and pointed at me. This is my eldest son, all the debts will be repaid by him. Their gazes fell upon me, scrutinizing me for a moment. Pay the interest first or the principal in one go. The leader of the thugs rested his baton behind his back. My parents shoved me forward, stammering, Speak up, didn't you agree to pay off Andy's debt? I turned to my mother and said, But I already gave you the money. My father cut in sharply, Stop talking nonsense, we never took your money. I stared at the suitcase in the corner. That card is inside. I can tell you the password. Please, don't hurt my family. A person's true character is revealed in an instant. The boss chose to believe my words and ordered a few of his men to open the suitcase. The bank card is in the compartment, proving that what I said is true. Their expressions softened slightly as they logged into the online banking using the password I provided. After a while, the leader raised his stick and pressed it against my chest. You're messing with me. It seems you don't want to live anymore. The phone was thrown in front of me, showing a balance of 0. I quickly waved my hands and pointed at my parents. The relatives can testify that giving the card to my parents was a last-minute decision, and I've been here ever since with no way to transfer the money. He glanced around, and the relatives nodded in agreement. The boss lowered his voice, staring at them intently. I came here today determined to get the money. Don't try any tricks with me. So, where's the money? My parents turned pale, finally realizing they had been tricked by me. The creditors were no pushovers, slamming their clubs hard against the coffin. Where's the money? My mother was so frightened she burst into tears, clutching her chest. If you keep this up, I'm calling the police. My son is already dead. Where would I get the money to pay you back? My father gritted his teeth and sneered. Every grievance has its cause, every debt its debtor. I know the rules of your trade. If you need to report back, I still have another son here. Whether you chop off his hands or his feet, it's up to you. His tone was as casual as if he were haggling over vegetables at the market. He even helped the boss come up with ideas. A few underlings nodded, agreeing with my dad's suggestion, and even began quietly persuading the boss to finish the job so they could report back. The boss tacitly accepted the idea and directed his underlings to rush toward me. In that case, I approached the coffin, took a deep breath, and shouted, Brothers, how about you just take his body away? I heard it's quite valuable too. Since you're in this line of work, you must know the market well, right? I forcefully pulled back the black cloth. The coffin was completely empty. Everyone around was stunned. They all stared wide-eyed at the empty coffin. The body is gone. It really has turned into a corpse. Oh my God, it's haunted. What's going on here? I crouched down, kicked the fire basin under the coffin, and the scorching flames licked at the coffin. Soon, agonizing screams came from inside. Ah, help me, it's so hot. Is anyone there? Let me out. Andy's voice came from under the coffin, causing almost everyone present to panic and scramble to run outside. Only my parents rushed toward the coffin and lifted the lid. Bruised and battered, Andy rolled out from under the coffin. A large patch of skin and flesh burned off his back. He clutched his wound, writhing on the ground as blood continued to drip from the gruesome injury. My mother rushed forward to support him, and in her flustered state, she accidentally touched his wound. Andy pushed my mother away fiercely and angrily kicked over the brazier. It's all because of your terrible ideas. Do you really want to kill me? My mother leaned against the corner of the wall, clutching her chest, tears falling from the corners of her eyes as she said with grievance, I did it all for you. The mother and son went back and forth, arguing with each other. The argument became uncontrollable, and the mourning hall descended into chaos. I said calmly, brother, how could you? You're still alive. That's wonderful, big brother. You can ask him for it now. That sentence woke everyone up. Andy faked his death to push the debt onto me. Auntie looked utterly incredulous, remained silent for a long moment, and then said, give back the funeral gift I gave you. As soon as she spoke, the rest of the relatives naturally reached out their hands. You're so ungrateful. After all the help I've given your family, you should at least pay me some compensation. Give me back the money for the fireworks. In an instant, everyone in the hall turned into creditors demanding their money. The issue shifted from demanding repayment to deciding whose money should be paid back first and whose could wait. Mom and Dad shielded Andy in front of them, enduring the torrent of angry shouts and blows from all directions. My mother cried out, Ethan, are you dead? Come and help already. My father angrily cursed, you unfilial son, you ungrateful brat. I'd have been better off raising a dog than having you. Getting angry already. So you're getting angry out of shame. In my past life, I was the one who endured all of this alone. You never know the pain until the knife cuts into your own flesh. I timidly asked, Mom, Dad, where did you take my 10 years of hard-earned money? Of course they wouldn't come looking for me. I'm a victim too. People always side with their interests. It's a united front. My parents were left speechless, unable to defend themselves. I transferred that money, along with the $500,000 loan, to Linda, with my past life's business experience. I could just follow the same path and make money effortlessly. My mother was forced into a corner, trembling uncontrollably, and actually spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone was terrified and stepped back one after another. They only wanted money. If someone died, no one would get any money. Everyone understood this logic. It's none of my business. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Call an ambulance. Quickly call an ambulance. Go, hurry up and go. My mother weakly clutched her stomach, her face deathly pale, and fainted. This trick of feigning illness, she really has never failed to use it successfully. After all that commotion, everyone had dispersed. Andy took advantage of the chaos to follow the ambulance and make his escape. But escape? Where could he possibly go? As long as he was alive, that group would always find him. As expected, the group followed him to the hospital, standing guard at the door of the ward every day. They kept watch over them in 3 shifts, morning, noon, and night. Even when Andy went to the bathroom, they still stood guard at the door, and when no one was around, they would drag him into a corner and beat him up, day after day. The stalemate continued for a week. Just when I thought they had no way out, they turned to Linda. My father, with Andy, knelt at Linda's doorstep, weeping and accusing her. This woman, who despises the poor and adores the rich, sold our family's house. She drove us out. My wife is sick in the hospital, unable to move, and this woman has taken all our money and run off. I almost forgot, after they left last time, Linda brought a cleaning crew to thoroughly clean that wedding apartment, and she threw all of my parents' and Andy's belongings into the dumpster. That apartment was originally gifted by her parents for their marriage, and ever since my parents moved in, they had been living there. More and more people gathered to watch. Linda's parents are both intellectuals and had never seen such a shameless and unruly scene before. Their faces flushed with anger as they explained that their daughter was not that kind of person. Linda shielded her parents behind her. Andy, don't forget, we're not married yet. How did my things become yours? You stole my ID to mortgage my house. If I hadn't found out in time, you probably would have sold me off too, right? If you don't get out now, I'll call the police. Or maybe invite those big brothers over to give you a proper welcome. Andy was taken aback for a moment, as if he had just realized something. Furious and humiliated, he snapped, you bitch, were those people called by you that day? You've been messing around with my brother all along, so you set me up. didn't you?" Linda tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear and nodded. "Yes, so what?" Furious, Andy charged forward, only to be pinned to the ground by a group of bodyguards. "I won't let you get away with this, just you wait," I stood behind Andy and said. "Who won't you let get away?" The moment he saw me, his pupils contracted, and he lunged at me like a rabid dog. According to their plan, I should have been dismembered by that group of people by now. Andy had someone investigate my assets and found out I hold 50% of the shares in a company. He sent that group to cause trouble at my company, knowing they would definitely get the money, unfortunately. Andy didn't realize that the legal representative of that company is actually his creditor. Using my business experience from a past life, I took my boss into the real estate industry and recouped the investment in just 1 month. I turned to the older brothers and said, "Wasn't I right? He's indeed here." My father stood up, walked over to me, and raised his hand to slap me. I took a step back, and he stumbled and fell to the ground. "You beast, you're going to be the death of your brother. You don't want us to live in peace either, do you? You won't even listen to your own father now, is that it?" That look in his eyes, it was as if he wouldn't be satisfied until he devoured me whole. Ignoring him, I took Linda by the hand and walked into the house, slamming the door shut behind us. Outside, my father finally broke down, falling to his knees and pleading pitifully, "Please, gentlemen, let my son go. He really has no money left. You're going to be the death of him." Andy hid behind my dad. "Just give me a few more days, I promise, I'll really pay it back." He scrambled to the door to apologize. "Big brother, Linda, I was wrong, please save me." Those tough guys weren't fools. They wouldn't easily let them off this time. After pretending to be dead and deceiving people, they dragged Andy into an empty corner. Only the sound of painful pleas could be heard. My business was thriving, and I moved all my funds overseas. The boss became my best business partner. The next time I received news about my family was when my eldest aunt came to me for help. "What the hell has your father done? They've sued all of us in court." You know, a lot of people think of something. It turned out that my mother's condition hadn't improved since she was hospitalized. He couldn't afford the medical bills and couldn't repay his debts, so he resorted to extorting all the relatives who were present at the time, including the debtors and even me. As soon as the court summons arrived, my father had someone contact me. "Your mother is dying. Hurry back to see her one last time." My heart sank. This fake drama was becoming all too real. It wasn't until the hospital issued the critical condition notice that I truly believed something had actually happened. When I saw Andy again, he had lost an arm, and the scar on his face was strikingly obvious. It seems he has paid quite a price during this time. His eyes held a hidden ferocity, and I realized it wasn't that simple. Andy took a few steps forward, noticed the group of bodyguards following me, and stepped back again. My mother's body lay on the hospital bed, her face pale and gaunt, the heart monitor having stopped its beeping. "Fake it till you make it," Andy pushed me away furiously. "They drove Mom to her death, and you're an accomplice too. All right, I understand, I'll cover the funeral expenses." He hurriedly blocked my path. "Give me 50 million, and I'll drop the lawsuit." I was taken aback for a moment. "After all this time, I really haven't made any progress. I know you have money. What's wrong with helping me? I'm your brother, we're family, we should face hardships together. Mom is already gone. You can't just abandon me." My father, on the other hand, silently watched this farce from the corner without saying a word. I sneered, "Isn't your father still alive? If you want to sue, I'll see it through to the end. But can you even afford a lawyer?" No one expected him to apply for legal aid and take my mother's decaying body to court. Everyone was stunned by his outrageous move. After the court session began, there were many people present that day, and many witnesses. Everyone began to describe the scene from that day, one after another. The accounts were mostly similar, but in the chaos, no one knew exactly what had happened to my mother. The medical records proved that she suffered a massive impact, resulting in a ruptured spleen. Andy cried his heart out, pointing at all the relatives present. "It was you who killed my mom. Give me back my mom. From now on, I'm a child without a mother." He glared at me with resentment. "From the time Mom was hospitalized until she passed away, you didn't even come to see her once. You bear the greatest responsibility. Everything that happened that day was because you were causing trouble." I clapped my hands, acknowledging his performance with approval. I smiled faintly. "It's true, I never went to the hospital to see her, but I covered all the medical expenses." I presented the surveillance footage from our home that day. The screen played frame by frame, clearly showing Andy rolling out of the coffin and then punching my mother in the abdomen. Her face turned pale. And she only vomited blood after the crowd had started arguing. As for why she suddenly took a turn for the worse and passed away after the initial successful rescue, I have called a witness to the stand. My father slowly walked up to the witness stand, choking up at one point. That day, I went to get some food, and by the time I came back, she was already fading fast. She was perfectly fine before I left. At that time, there were only the two of them in the room. And he wouldn't even let the doctors perform the final emergency measures. I can't help but suspect it was him. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was in an uproar. No one had expected that the most compelling evidence would come from his own father, who had always defended him. Andy, flushed with anger and humiliation, grabbed the documents beside him and threw them at him. "Dad, have you lost your mind? Your Honor, he has Alzheimer's disease. His words cannot be trusted. Did Ethan bribe you to give false testimony for him, you old bastard? Say something." My father closed his eyes in disappointment, covered his head, and crouched on the ground, wailing in agony. I raised my hand and said, "In that case, I request an autopsy." Andy panicked. "Mom is already dead, and you won't even let her rest in peace. Are you even human?" "I don't agree." "Dad, say something, quick." My father nodded silently, his temples instantly turning white, as if he had aged 10 years in a moment. Ever since that day I went to Linda's house, I had privately sought out my dad. I told him the truth about my mom's illness and hospitalization and gave him a sum of money to cover her medical expenses. I deliberately told Andy. Sure enough, he stole the money and continued gambling. After my dad found out, Andy stubbornly believed he could turn everything around in one go. This nearly caused my mom to miss her medical treatment payments. And my dad had no choice but to come begging me again, and my condition was to transfer my mother to another hospital and have them give up on Andy. My father gave up, but once a person starts to doubt and feel dissatisfied, it gradually amplifies to the extreme. It wasn't until my mother died that he realized how foolish his decision had been. After the autopsy results came out, Andy was arrested. My mother's internal organs were fibrotic, clearly indicating she died from poisoning. Andy even said she did it voluntarily. It really wasn't me. Until the case was fully investigated, he was sentenced to death. Andy finally gave up in despair, kneeling down to beg my father to save him. This time, my father turned and left decisively, his hair completely white, as he pleaded humbly, "Ethan, you're the only family I have left. You won't abandon me, will you? You promised me that if I came forward to testify, you would take care of me in my old age." I nodded. "I've arranged a place for you with beautiful mountains and clear waters, ensuring no one will disturb your peace again." Half a month later, I received a call from my dad. "What kind of godforsaken place is this? I can't get enough to eat, and there's no proper bathroom. I can't even escape from here. Come pick me up right away." I'm not satisfied with this place at all. I was taken aback for a moment, then sneered. "But I've already paid for 20 years. You can live here until you die." After hanging up the phone, I finally felt at ease. Finally, I've left my damn family behind. As I was about to go abroad, Linda followed along. She dragged her suitcase, full of spirit, following behind me. "What a coincidence, James President. Would you be interested in taking me along?" I cleared my throat lightly. "Haven't I taken you along enough times? You've been involved in all my business." Linda gazed at my face. "But you've forgotten something." With a puzzled expression, I quickly scanned my thoughts. "What? You said you had feelings for me, that you've had a crush on me for a long time, right? So, why not let me be a part of this relationship?" My face suddenly grew warm, gradually turning hot, but looking at her bright and lovely face, I couldn't bring myself to say a single word of refusal. "Then, let's give it a try." Later on, I asked her why she trusted me so firmly. Linda stood before the mirror in her wedding dress. "Do you believe people have past lives and future lives?" "I do." After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.